All right. Welcome to Under the Hood session with Donovan Dorrance. Let's take a moment just to arrive. Letting the anything you don't need, just let it fall away and be at ease. Let the mind rest on the breath for just a moment. Coming fully into this present moment. Then I invite you to bring that same kind of attention to your heart. Just checking in with how you're doing right now. What's alive? And just as a gentle reminder that this creative practice we're all engaged in together and in community, the reminder that it's not about the ego. In gratitude and generosity, we enter the circle with a bow. Oh, Donovan Dorrance. This guy's amazing. You all here on the call know him and love him. Thanks for joining us. Maybe let's just start with giving a little background about the music we're going to hear today. Like, I know there's a released EP or album that is amazing. I listen to repeatedly for my enjoyment and edification, and there's one on the way. But maybe you can give us a little context of that, and then we'll get into the music.
Sure, sure. Thanks for having me, Gary. Yeah, so music we're going to listen to today is from a dance score. So my sister is a professional tap dancer, um, and most of my professional musical career has been collaborating with her, which I'm really grateful for. And yeah, we collaborated on an evening length show, which took a while to get there. First, it was like one short piece, then it was like 30-minute long show, and then now it's around an hour. And this show is currently touring. It's called "The Center Will Not Hold." It consists of 10 dancers, and I wrote the music for the show and recorded it all. It's a lot of prepared piano, which is if you're unfamiliar, taking uh, a baby grand or a grand piano, shoving some foreign objects inside of the piano, inside on top of the strings, inside the strings, to create some percussive effects. So that's the bulk of the score consists of that, with some additional instrumentation. Um, like I said, it's pre-recorded. I recorded it, and they dance to it. But then there's also a live percussionist who accompanies the dancers on stage on tour. So that's really cool too. Yeah, it's been so much fun working on the music basically over the last 2 years since it started in smaller increments, and we just finished it earlier this year. And yeah, they're touring. They've toured most of the East Coast. They did Toronto in Canada, and then I think the last gig they'll have is in Germany, which is super cool. Yeah, so this piece is a newer one, so one that we did in the expansion of the whole dance performance. Yeah, I can get into more specifics on this piece in particular, but that's the background.
Yeah. I just want to invite people on the call. Like, this is also pretty informal. So if you have questions, like, you can pop them in the chat. You can write them down. We can save them for the end. I definitely want to make sure we get time to have Donovan get into this. But my first one I'll say is, what sort of preparations did you do? And then I'll let you get into the music. But like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are some examples we're about to hear?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So, I looked up what other American composers have done, and just in my research of prepared piano, I came to know that it is an American tradition. American composers were some of the first to do it and popularize it, which is super cool. So, yeah, I very much, hopped on the internet and saw what others had done in the past, and then came up with some of my own stuff. Most of the things I used to prepare just came from Lowe's hardware store. Um, yeah, some things to mute the strings. So I got a lot of different types of felt and foam to shove between the strings. I'll also use my fingers a lot to mute the strings. Um, my favorite thing that I used, I don't know if I used it in this piece, but in some other pieces, if you know those kind of drawstrings from like a ceiling fan, and they're beaded like little metal beads, a string of metal beads. Getting like a 6 foot long one of those and just laying it across all the strings is just like instant, you know, timbral percussive change to everything, which is so great. Um, I got a number of different kinds of washers, like you know, metal washers, but also rubber washers. Rubber washers are cool because shoving them between the strings changes the pitch of the string pretty drastically, and you get harmonics. So sometimes you're getting two notes that are you're getting equal volume from two different frequencies on one key, which is very strange. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it's fun to just to, you know, if you're curious to do this yourself, just go to a hardware store, get get a bunch of stuff and just start poking around. And just be careful to not drop stuff in the piano, which I definitely did, and you know, spent the better part of an hour trying to get things out. So you can always tie things to strings as you're setting them up, and if they fall in, you can kind of pull them out. That was the lesson I learned.
Did you have any failed experiments that you want to share? Like, oh, that just didn't make any sound or didn't produce a
Um,
pleasing sound?
Honestly, most things were failed experiments, either because it just didn't do enough, or it did so much that it was like, this isn't like like musical the way I wanted it to be musical anymore. So it would just like either kill the sound, or it just wouldn't do enough of what I wanted it to do. Um, but some like less is more things really worked. Like paper, just like sticking some paper in between some strings gave it a really nice sharp percussive quality. That was like, that's so simple. I didn't need any fancy gear for that. But yeah, I would say 80% failures.
I love that. I've played a lot with it too, and I remember one of my favorite failed one was putting marbles on it because
Oh
they
God,
bounce.
yeah. I've seen ping pong balls which also bounce, but I know that Hauschka, I've seen videos of him do that, which is super cool. But
Nice.
marbles would be really aggressive because they're heavy.
All right. You want to share screen? Are we ready for this?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I will say I'm operating on an old OS on my Mac, and my Zoom is also old. So every time I do something on Zoom, there's a 20-second lag, so I will freeze for 20 seconds. But hopefully you'll be able to see the screen, and I can keep talking. So I'm gonna share now. And can you still hear me? And can you see my screen?
Yeah. Could see your screen. I can still hear you.
Okay, great. It's just
Yeah.
my face that's
Your
red, but
camera
that's
went
not
dark for a
fun.
second there.
No
Yeah.
problem. Okay, cool. So I kind of have a bigger screen, so if you're looking on like a MacBook, this might seem really tiny, and I'll definitely zoom in as we get into the piece. But so yeah, a lot of the dance score consisted of pieces bleeding into one another. Um, and so one song kind of sometimes feels like two songs because there's like the first half and the second half that are, you know, have different things going on. And that was very much just the result of the choreographers, my sister and her best friend Efrat Ashiri. You know, I sent them a bunch of little short ideas, and them liking, you know, this idea, and being like, "What if we put them together?" I'm like, "Okay, we'll try and put them together." And you know, sometimes it worked really well, and sometimes it didn't. You know, we adjusted, but this is an example of something where they really liked this first half of this idea, and they didn't know where they wanted it to go. And on a whim, without any direction, I was just like, I want to take it to this place, and cross my fingers and hope that they like it. And they very much did, and all the dancers liked it. And then they ran with choreography. So yeah, sorry. Again, the first half of this piece, which you can kind of see up here in this upper left corner, that was a piece that was like a sort of a demo that I made, and have obviously since made it better than a demo. But they had the demo; it was short, and they liked it, and they choreographed to it. There's sort of a duet, like a little battle happening between two people. And then they wanted it to go somewhere, and they didn't know where, and so I very much took the initiative on the second half. Let's see, what else can I say? Yeah, the first half is pretty straightforward. It's fun rhythmically, but it's pretty much 4/4. There's some cool effects going on in here, and so if anyone's curious about those, we can get into that. But yeah, it's mostly just kind of repetitive. The whole show is very groove based. It's a lot of black dance forms, American dance forms, in the show. A lot of the dancers are actually all of the dancers are experts in their own field of dance. Pretty much every single dancer has a different expertise and background, which is super cool. That makes the show really exciting. So yeah, a lot very groove based, very rhythmical. The second half here is in a quintuplet swing, which we can talk about after I play it for you. But basically, it can feel like it's in 4/4, like kind of swinging, but a really close ear and maybe listening to a lot of the subdivisions of the rhythm will let you know that it's kind of in a 5. It's in a very quick 5 with certain emphases to make it feel like it's swinging in a choppy way. I guess that's what I'll say. Yeah, should we go for it? Should we play it?
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm ready.
Cool. It's about 4 minutes, not too long. And then yeah, we can get into it afterwards. But yeah, I'll start playing it. Just give me a thumbs up, just to make sure that everyone can hear everything okay. And I'll mute my microphone.
Oh no. We glitched, Donovan. Are you there? I wonder if Logic crashed out. You're muted, Donovan.
Oh man. Okay, so did it quit out? Logic was still going, but maybe Zoom didn't like me changing the screen or something.
Yeah, we lost it. It's lost the share screen.
Okay, let me try again.
All right. I was into it though. I was way into it.
Okay, I wonder if it's me like scrolling around. I'm hoping that's not the case because I would love to be able to do that. But all right, we'll just give it another go. See what happens.
Yeah, I wonder too, like when you said had set up different scenes, like if it opens as a new window, which Zoom is gonna think is like,
Okay, great
you know,
point. Okay,
a
I'm not
different
gonna. I won't do that. I won't do that.
Okay. All right.
There we have it.
Woo! Yeah. So hot. All
I
right. Was
forgot
there
to.
anything you wanted to start off showing? Because I've got questions, and I think other people probably do too.
Well, I do want to acknowledge. Yeah, I'll let you ask any questions you like. I want to acknowledge that Allison has, who's on the call right now. Allison has seen the show. She went to the show in Boston.
Oh my God.
It was just a couple weeks ago. Is it? Was
Yeah.
this familiar?
It is now. I just have to say, I was so blown away by everything. The percussion element of it. And I'm working right now with you, Donovan, and learning so much from you about percussion. But I'm just amazed at this. It really was an incredible show. And if anybody gets a chance to see this show, I really encourage it. I realize it may have already come through your towns, but anyway, yeah, just blown away.
Thank you.
Awesome. I put a link to the tour in the chat. I see Vale is on the docket for July, Colorado person. I don't know any other dates aligned, but uh, Jacob's Pillow coming up. Is it going to be performed there?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like this
I'm
piece is going to
I'm
happen there. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna go. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be there too.
everybody go see it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love the piece so much, and I'm also blown away by the dancers. And yeah, shout out to actually my drum teacher, who I took drum lessons in college, and this was 10, 15 years ago. And my drum teacher and I reconnected over the pandemic via pickleball. We started playing pickleball together. And, you know, of course, we always want to collaborate musically, but I asked him to play drums on this. So I had some temporary drums, which here I'll play real quick. It was just to hold the groove. Um, it was just this. That is the sort of the quintuplet swing. Here's like the metronome underneath it if this reveals anything for anybody. So there's like a checka 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. There's like that quick 5 underneath, and then only certain things are emphasized to make it feel like it's in a sort of a swinging 4. Anyway, I contacted my drum teacher and I was like, "Hey, I'd love for you to play on the album version of these tunes," and he was like, "Absolutely." And so all props to him for just absolutely crushing the assignment. We were together in his great little garage studio, and yeah, we just spent an hour grooving on stuff, and he just crushed it. And I made my favorite comp of the takes that he did, which is a thing I love to do. I love comping stuff. Yeah. If you wanna go ahead with questions, Gary, go for it.
Well, that was gonna be one of them. That was great. What a great demonstration. Um, I want to hear there's like I think I'm sourcing a synthy vocalish sounding percussion towards the beginning. There's nodding. There's unanimous nodding on the call.
Cool.
I'm assuming it's one of those green regions there.
Yeah. So like the first half of the
Yeah.
Sotheby's. You know, I'm gonna switch to headphones just so I can talk and play, and it's not gonna be a
Okay.
nuisance.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me point this out. So yeah, let me double check that this is what people are talking about. Is that the one?
That's what I'm interested in.
I
Yep.
love it. I love that people are interested. Without permission, I took a voice memo that my sister sent me. You know, we send voice memos via text, right? And she and her girlfriend were playing Dutch Blitz, which is a card game that we all love. Like my family loves this game. And she was clarifying some rules because she was trying to teach her girlfriend how to play. And she's like, we're in this scenario and I don't know what's going on. I need your help, blah, blah, blah. And in making this piece, I was like, it needs something else. And I was like, I love taking secret things that people don't know about and throwing them in there. And so I don't even know if I'll be able to play the original thing. Yeah, let's just turn some stuff off and see if we can get the original thing in here. Let's see if it'll happen.
Because we could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for.
Yeah, okay. So you're hearing a random snippet I took. I pitched her vocal down and I shifted the formant, which is related to pitch, but it's I don't even know how to define formant. But if you're pitching something up and down, you can also change like the way that it sits in somebody's mouth, sort of like the shape of it almost. It's another timbral element of like voice or anything that's pitched, right? So I shifted a couple different things, which is
Because we could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for.
that, and then added some compression, some EQ, a ring shifter, which gives it sort of this effect.
Because we could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for.
Like there's a little bit of that going on. And then the thing that gives it the rhythmic element is the tremolo. So that makes it really percussive.
Because we could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for.
And it's obviously set to the tempo of the piece, right? So that when the other
Can we see that? Can we see your tremolo setting?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a 16th note, and then it's pretty hard absence and presence of the sound, right? So if we see this sort of wave up, that's the sound like coming through, and then this is the sound sort of not coming through. So when played with everything, if I just play it with the percussion track and maybe some other rhythmic track, you'll still be able to hear it, but you'll hear the rhythm behind it.
We could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for. We could have put 5 out, but we only put 3 for.
So just fun. And then, I get to say that I use my sister's voice without her permission, and it's funny.
I saw Allison throw up a hand. Yeah,
Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
So wait, but what we're looking at looks like a MIDI track. So in other words,
Yes, good eye, good
can you
eye.
can you explain the transformation from acoustic audio to turning it into MIDI?
Absolutely. Well, Allison, you and I did this together for your song. So basically, you can take any audio file and throw it in a sampler, which if you have Logic, the native sampler works. If you have any other DAW, there's absolutely a native sampler. You can drag audio files into it, and then it's essentially a software instrument that is sampling. In other words, just playing that audio clip that you've imported into it. So then you have control over when you want to play it via MIDI. And so if you look at the piano roll, I'm pretty much just staying on that sort of that root key, like where I had it. But occasionally I'll do like so that's where it is. But sometimes I'll play like a lower pitch version of it. Can you hear that? It's probably kind of quiet.
No, I can hear it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and so the reason for doing it this way is I have great control over the presence and the absence of the sound, like when I want it to be there and when I don't want it to, and it's super simple. I can just like click around, right? And then they're there, rather than dealing with an audio file and copying, pasting it a bunch of times and shortening it and making sure that it's faded in and faded out. It can be a nuisance. So this is just way faster and simpler, and gives you more freedom, and you can be really precise too. Like I can quantize this if I want to. Yeah, does that answer your question? Cool.
Yeah, very cool. And so then I'm assuming then you were sort of performing it as
Yeah,
you went, right? So then you can
definitely.
kind of like, yeah, use it more as an instrument as you're tracking it.
Yes, 100%. I was just kind of winging it on the keyboard, and then I would adjust it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I think my next question is about like the piano sounds so awesome on this. Like uh yeah, really like it's recalling other great piano recordings I have in my head, you know. I'm like, "Oh yeah, his piano sounds just as good as that." So I guess I'm curious about that, but then related to that, I'm also curious about I see a whole lot of editing in the piano parts, and then at least one moment where we were just looking at a minute ago where it was looped. Something's looped down there. So like what's your philosophy or relationship between looping things and chopping chopping takes?
Yeah, great question. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about like editing and looping first. Yeah, this one down here that's looped is very much this might be one of very few, maybe like 2 or 3 examples of the whole piece where I used like a pre-made loop. I don't really reach for that very often, mostly because I have my own ideas in my head and I want to execute them. But oftentimes, like I'm sometimes just not satisfied with like something I grab. But this one I really liked, and it worked for this piece. It was just like something nice in the background. Oh, it's fading in. Let's get into it. There's a little bit of nuance, it sounds like hi-hat. You can see I've EQ'd almost all of it out, so it's very much just the treble. If we turn this off, and then I also have tremolo on it, so if we turn that off too, you'll hear what it really is. So Gary, can you tell what that is? Or anybody, can you tell what that actually is?
Just sounds like maybe a hi-hat and snare of something.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
But
brushes, I think, in particular. So it's like kind of really light, but then, when we put all these things on it, then it's just some more electronic-y vibes. So yeah, I was fine with looping that through the whole thing just to give it some some energy up top. But yeah, as far as the piano stuff goes, so much of this show, so much of the score was very as I mentioned earlier, very groove oriented. And because the dancers are such great executioners in their percussive dance styles, I wanted to make sure that the timing of everything was as good as it could be without sounding like just robotic or lifeless, right? So I very much recorded things to a click, like organically, right? And then as I felt I needed to, which apparently in this piece was a lot, I would just slightly adjust things just to have them sit super on the grid as much as I could. Sometimes you can reach for like flex time in Logic to do that, to shift things. Unfortunately, relying heavily on that can lead to a lot of artifacts, right? We get a lot of like weird, glitchy, not good sounding elements that are left over from sort of the computer adjusting according to its algorithm of how things should be timed. So I often sliced things and scooched them by hand. This is what you're seeing is a combination of both, right? There's some flex time in here, and then there's some just scooching by hand when I could tell that the artifacts were no good. But yeah, I think I really wanted like this main groove to sit as on the grid, and it's hitting a lot of off beats too, right? So I wanted things to just sit really well. This little higher part here, there's a little delay on there. But yeah, I really wanted everything to be super tight, and so that's me chopping everything up and having no issue showing people that is the truth. But it sounds good at the end, and that's all I care about. And then yeah, the reason you're seeing, like, for example, 3 tracks for one piano sound, you're like, why would you do that? I explored and experimented with a new recording technique that was new to me. Certainly not new as far as recording techniques go. It's called the mid-side recording technique. And what it requires is 2 microphones, but one of them needs to be a microphone that's basically capable of recording on both sides of the microphone. So some microphones are just sort of a cardioid shape, which means that pretty much just the front of it is going to capture sound. But if you have a microphone that's bi-directional or even omnidirectional, you're basically, there's basically, I guess, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 2 capsules, or a capsule on each side that can capture everything around the microphone.
I've not done this, man. You're the expert on the call here today on this topic.
Well, I'm very much an amateur, but this is my first time doing it, but it was really great. So typically with a piano, you might just see 2 regular old microphones, right? Recording stereo. In the past when I've done this, I've had a lot of phasing issues, and that's just my user error, not setting the microphones up perfectly. If they're a little bit off, or if the distance between them, or the distance between the microphones and the source, like the piano, is not the perfect ratio, you get some phasing issues, and so things just don't sit super well. And so I was looking up alternatives, like how can I do it so that I just don't mess it up? I can't mess it up. One option is just doing an XY, which I actually have set up in the back here. I was recording some guitar. So if you take 2 microphones and just put them right on top of each other and have them faced 90 degrees away from each other, that's like a surefire way to have a stereo recording that is not going to have any phase issues, because the microphones are basically in the exact same place. So you could do that with piano, but I didn't love that sound. And so what I opted for was this mid-side technique. So having a regular cardioid shaped condenser microphone in one spot, and then in the exact same spot, but it faced in the opposite direction, or rather in a 90-degree direction, having a microphone that's capable of recording on both sides, bidirectional. And then it's kind of this crazy thing, but so basically you take so this one that says main, this bottom one here, that's like the regular microphone, just kind of recording a mono signal, right? And then these two, this side L main, side R main, are it's the bidirectional microphone. It's copied, right? Like I've copied the signal twice, and then on the second track you invert the phase. And I can't explain exactly why this works, because usually this wouldn't really do anything except like cancel out your sound. But the way that this works with a bidirectional microphone and having the other one, it's just like absolute magic. And the other benefit of it is that it gives you stereo control. So let me see if I can demonstrate here. First I'll play like just this main one by itself. It's just, you're gonna hear mono piano here. Should sound like it's dead in the center of your head. And then if I bring these two in, let me actually do it from the mixer here. So I'll pull these all the way down. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Things are all connected here. Let's see if we can unconnect them. Oh, it's not gonna work. Okay, well, let me just solo and unsolo these. I think that'll be the way to do it. So we have this mono signal here. And then bringing these two in, can you suddenly hear more of a stereo effect there? So off, just dead center. And then we have some side. I don't know, for those of us listening with headphones, it's a little more obvious.
And what can you give us, just the side ones?
Yeah, just the side one sounds very bizarre, actually. Give it a listen. Sounds very thin and like it's been gutted, sort of. And that is because of this phase inversion. So if I turn this off, it kind of sounds pretty normal. If I turn this on, it's now kind of thin and strange. And then when we add in the mono signal, now it's like full and lovely. It's a magic trick.
Blew my mind with that.
I barely understand how it works, but I did it for the music for this show, and it's like chef's kiss, and I love it, and I'm never gonna stop doing it. So if anyone's ever wanting to explore piano recording techniques and you want to do mid side, I'll put it in the chat. Or maybe Gary can, as I can't find my chat if you don't mind, Gary.
Yeah, of course. Just to put the name of it, you're saying?
Yeah, mid side. Recording.
Yeah. Joan just called you a name, I think, in the chat too, so look out.
Oh yeah.
Called you a left brain creative.
Oh, I love it.
I think it was with affection.
Thanks, Jen.
Mark asks if you've ever used this for vocals.
I have not. I have only ever recorded vocals in mono. I suppose if you are recording a choir, this would probably be really great to do. I know that for like solo vocals, it's recommended to just record in mono. But if you're recording more than one person and you want that sort of stereo sound, then I think you could absolutely employ this technique for sure. And that's a great idea, and I want to try it. That's a good idea.
Nice.
Joan says, off subject, right brain question, but curious about what it's like for you to work with your sibling. I work with my brother as a composer. Yeah. And it is fraught. Yeah, my sister and I have a great relationship. She's 12 years older than I am. And so she kind of, I joke and say that she just molded all my tastes to reflect hers. And so we just get along really well. If anyone has seen the movie Almost Famous, this is what I always reference. Towards the beginning of the movie, the older sister of the sort of main character, who's like a 14-year-old boy, his older sister, leaves home in a huff because she can't stand her mom and wants to be independent. and she leaves home, but before she does, she gives all of her records in like crates to her brother and says, "These are yours. Like, let them open your mind," or something. It's like a dramatic, moment. Um, and I always joke that that's what my sister did to me. She was like giving me Rage Against the Machine when I was like 10 years old, and I'd be playing it. My mom was like, "What's that? That's bad language. It's too loud." So yeah, that we had a great relationship when I was younger, and then working together is always great. We rarely ever disagree, and if we do, I think we're very understanding and appreciative of each other. But also at the end of the day, she's the boss, so uh, it's her dance, and she's in charge. So and I have no issue with that. I get to do what I love because of her, so I'm grateful.
It doesn't hurt that you're one of the nicest people I've ever met in my whole life. So.
Sometimes.
Oh, good. What other questions? Oh yeah, Mark's got one. You see that there, Donovan?
Yeah, when you create polyrhythms in a piece, do you do it by feel and experimentation, or do you start with math and play? Yeah, great question. I usually do it by feel. For the second half, so this like quintuplet swing, which here I'll just play again for reference for everybody. 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, right? Yeah, for that I had encountered it just in my music listening and was like, oh, that's a really satisfying feel. I think I don't know if these are the origins, but I know in a lot of spaces where this groove is played, it is sort of an approximation or imitation of a Dilla beat. Jay Dilla is a hip hop producer, deceased, very influential on just the entire genre of hip hop, but a lot of drummers too. And so the way he would program beats for hip hop tracks was sort of in they sounded like they were lazy or a little bit late sometimes. And so, yeah, hip hop swings a lot, but his beats would be just even a little more off kilter. And you'd be like, oh, that sits in such a funky way. Here, I'll put his name in the chat. Really good history lesson for anyone who's unfamiliar. Hip hop history. So yeah, the quintuplet swing is definitely more on the grid than a J Dilla beat, but it has a similar feel of like it's not quite straight and it's not quite like a full triplet swing. It's like somewhere in between, and so you're like, what is happening with that beat? And I just love it so much, and I really wanted to experiment with it, Mark, and I wanted it to be in the show selfishly because I knew that the dancers who all are experts in black dance forms, very hip hop influenced in a lot of directions, that they would very much identify with and sit comfortably and feel good with that kind of beat. And so yeah, I was like, I love it and I think they're gonna love it, and so I ran with it and I was right, and it made it into the show, which was great because I spent a lot of time on it and I was like, I really hope people like this. But yeah, it was very much like, let me program it, let me see how it feels with like a drum beat, Mark, and then I was like listening to it and recording to it. So I would play the piano as much as I could right on the grid in time with that. And it felt really good, especially, so like obviously we have like sort of the main groove, which is really simple. That's super simple, right? But when I start building in more layers, like in here, that one's really fun to play because I'm basically playing the 5, 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, but rounding it out so that it like repeats nicely. And yeah, that's a blast to play. And then there's other layers. So it's just super fun to live in this like really quick 5 realm, but then when you listen to the drums, like when everything is in, like you can easily like find a 4/4 to just bob your head to. You know what I mean? So you get the satisfaction of just rocking out, or you can just be like really precise in your listening too, if you want that 5 feel. So for me, it's a blast for my brain and my body.
And I'll just pop in here too. Like there's fun thing, Dilla Time. There's a book about Jay Dilla, biography of him, and it
Nice.
tells some of these stories from one perspective. And then in Creative Quest, in Questlove's book,
Yeah.
telling the same stories from Questlove's book. And like the thumbnail version is that Questlove was trying to become a drummer who played like a drum machine, and Dilla was using a drum machine to sound like a human drummer. And when they met each other, they were like, "Wait, what?"
That is so great.
It's good stuff.
That is the perfect little snippet to advertise. That's so good.
Allison, what were you gonna say? Ask.
Yeah, I was just going back to that the sound that sounds like I just wanted to get to how you got that sound that is almost like strings. It sounds like guitar rather
Oh,
than
it is. It is guitar.
getting back. Oh, it is guitar? Okay, because
Yeah,
I thought it was
let's check it out. If it's what's like what was just playing a moment ago. So let me
yeah.
solo. I have a little group of instruments here called ambience, but I think it's just all guitar. So let's listen. It's subtle, so I'm glad you heard that. But yeah, it's a little buried in the mix. But yeah, it's if you're like, why doesn't that sound exactly like guitar? I'm using an Ebo, which is packed away right now because I was just touring with it with Gary and Margot. We just had a show in Philly, which is fun. Um, it is a little handheld device that you hover over the pickups of an electric guitar. Although it does somehow work on acoustic instruments too, which I don't understand. It's an electromagnetic device that allows the string to resonate, to vibrate and sustain, and so it gives you a rolling pitch rather than having to pluck it. It's ringing it out using electromagnetism, I guess. I don't know. I'm not I don't know those things. Sorry. And then the pitch sliding is literally a slide. It's like a glass slide on the string, which, you know, if anybody's familiar with like steel pedal, yeah. Was that what you were hearing, Allison?
You know,
Maybe.
I am embarrassed to say that's not what I was
That's
talking, but
okay.
I'm
I want to
so
know.
fascinated. I'm embarrassed
Tell
to say
me.
what I was hearing was I'm talking about the section where you had the phase inversion and it sounded it's the part that has side and mid, but it
Yeah.
sounds like you're plucking strings
Oh, sure.
guitar. That's what I was hearing, but I wanted to kind of that was
Yeah.
what you just explained. Yeah.
Um, I am doing a lot of finger muting of the piano. And so if it sounds kind of chunky or like
Yeah.
it has a short tail, it's probably that. I want to figure out if it's just the sort of main groove here, is it
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, yeah. So that is very much piano, and I'm muting. So I'm playing the keys with one hand, and then with my left hand, I'm reaching in and putting my fingers on top of the strings to give it a shorter tail, so it's not resonating, and
Yeah.
also a chunkier attack.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I
Yeah.
love it is my favorite thing to do with a piano. Um, it's the simplest form of preparation because it's temporary and it takes 1 second, It's
Yeah.
the best, and it sounds so good. I love it. I use it in literally, I would say 90 to 95% of the music for this show. It's at some point doing that.
Cool. Thank you.
Looks like there's also piano ebow. Did you get out your ebow and play it? Put
Oh
it on a
yeah, tell
string?
me, where do you see it? I
Well, the
think I did do
ambience you
that.
just soloed, it
Oh,
says
you're
the
right.
top
Yeah,
two
yeah,
say
yeah.
piano
Oh my
ebow.
gosh, you're totally right. See, Gary, that's why you're here, because I would have thought those were all guitar, but they are labeled. If only I had paid attention. But yeah, so oh, sorry, I have this over. So yeah, that is piano. Gary is correct. So that device that you can use on a guitar for whatever reason, I guess because the string is metal, it works on a piano. It's crazy. And yeah, I found a sweet spot. I think you have to kind of find like a harmonic that it'll work on. And yeah, nice little effect and a little buzz too. I'm sure that was I laid one of those drawstrings, the ceiling fan drawstrings across to give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get that sizzle.
yeah,
Yeah.
sizzle, exactly.
Nice. I'm curious when with all these different layers and the fact that you did have at least one recording session with a real piano and this advanced mid-side technique, how much had you composed in advance before getting on a real piano and doing like becoming more of a recording engineer and a performer? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what was your process with all of that? Like the composition of the piece itself?
Yeah, great question. So the first half, so these are very much like two pieces that are married together. The first half was very much like it existed as a voice note on my phone. So at some point in the past, probably many years ago, I just set it down and was playing around and had this little groove that I liked. And my sister was like, I like that. We need to use it in the show. And so, I went back and re-recorded it. So that existed. And I was like, okay, let me play it exactly the same way. And then I added some layers. For the second half, um, I wanted to find, a progression that felt good, a little bit dark, because the whole show's pretty dark, like thematically. So I just found a simple groove that worked. So that was just like me, finding the backbone of the piece, right? And something that felt good in that, like, 1 2 3 4 1 2 4 1 2 3 4 1, something that can feel good in that feel as well. But yeah, something that definitely came in the moment, and I think this is why Gary's asking me this. I wanted to like have a moment where like I'm doing a little bit more something more melodic, because very much the whole show is very groove based. I love Steve Reich and Philip Glass. I love the minimalists, and so I take a lot of inspiration for them. But I wanted there to be a part where you're a little more melodically moved, and so I took a bunch of passes at doing like a solo in this piece. So there's like that sort of line in the background while everything else is going on. And that was in the moment, improvised, but a bunch of takes. So I did a bunch of versions and very much Frankensteined my favorite bits and pieces of what I was coming up with. But yeah, for the most part, I'll very much like have like solid ideas like going into something and then kind of record them, but then leaving room for things to kind of happen in the moment.
Awesome. Awesome. Other folks on the call, I want to move towards wrapping up for today, but other questions that you're sitting with?
This is a very quick because if I were to write something like this, I would be working on this for like a freaking year. So tell me, did you do this like overnight? I mean, you probably did, but
Definitely not. Definitely not. The recording of all of these layers was probably within a day, but not the editing. The editing took a while. So, like it's not a complicated piece like structurally, right? The rhythm might be challenging for some people, but I feel at home in that realm. So yeah, once I felt confident rhythmically, like I recorded a bunch of takes of like the main groove, and then I'm like, oh, I have these other ideas. Let me record like that idea, right? That's a good one. So I recorded that for a stretch, knowing that I can come back and place it exactly where I want, fade it in where I want, fade it out where like I knew that, right? I was like, editing comes later. This is very much a Gary tip. Like just in the moment, write your shit. In my case, record it as quickly as you can. I had limited time using this piano. More layers. It was really letting myself like flush out, like exhaust all the ideas that I had for this theme, right? So I'm recording them all, I think pretty much in a day. But yeah, no, Joan, the
Then you
editing.
took them home and
Yeah, 100%. And that is why it sounds as clean as it does. Before it was like, oh, I can tell what the piece is, but it's not tight. And boy, did I want it to be really tight. And
yeah,
it
because I
is.
see all your cuts and your
Yeah.
pastes and your
Yeah. And again, that's a combination. It's not like I made every single one of those cuts. It's a combination of some flex time and then some me adjusting things or being like, ooh, those are some bad notes there. Let me just kill those, copy paste another part that's the same, put it there. Yeah, I'm a huge
That's
fan
a
of
lot of work.
it. Is a lot. I love editing and I'm a big fan of it, and so I rely heavily on it. Also because my piano chops aren't that great, so it's sort of a necessity.
Could have fooled me. And no, it's a beautiful piece, and I'm gonna go see it at Jacob's Pillow.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'll see you there. I'll be there too.
Oh, great. I'll let you know when we're going.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
fun.
This is very inspiring,
Oh,
Donovan.
thanks. That's really kind. I'm so inspired by your work, Joan, and your work, Allison, and your work, Gary, and Mark's as well.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming and hanging out. It's really nice.
Well,
Thanks for
I-
showing us all this good stuff, Donovan. So fun. And I
really
can't wait
wonderful.
for so I'm going to put in the chat here. So a couple of things. One is, in case you're not already on Donovan's email list or following him on Instagram or wherever,
I'm not.
you should. There's his website there. But then also, the first EP that has music very much in this vein, right, is already released and it's on Bandcamp and streaming platforms and stuff. Yeah, what were you gonna
Thanks.
say,
Yeah.
Donovan?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. The basically the first half of the show exists out there in the world. Yeah, the music. And then yeah, all the second half obviously exists too because they are dancing to it, but I have yet to release it. We're actually gonna shoot the album cover at Jacob's Pillow. So shortly thereafter it will be released.
Awesome.
Awesome. We can look forward to that. And then if you're just sitting around and you're like, want Donovan to produce one of your pieces, we have the opportunity as well.
Or Gary.
We're gonna do produce this coming up at the beginning of June, so
Sounds great.
hop on there. Thank you, Donovan. This is
Yeah,
fantastic,
thanks for having me.
fantastic. And I can't wait to hear this second album. But in the meantime, we'll satisfy ourselves with the first one. And let's bow out for today. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining too. Really great. Breath. Breathing in that good music we got to experience. Checking in with the heart. And to close the circle for today, in gratitude, we bow. Awesome. Thanks, friends. Great to see you.
Thank
More
you.
soon.
Guys.